In today's video, I'm going to be sharing how to do color changes at the beginning of a row. Now, you may be surprised at how often this comes up in the comments, but it does, so I wanted to make a video dedicated to that. There's probably a number of ways of going about it, but today I'm going to share my favorite methods along with a couple of tricks. If you're a beginner or even a seasoned crocheter and you're just fastening off after every row and then reattaching for the new one, absolutely valid. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually how I used to do it when I was first starting out, because everything else just seemed a bit too fiddly and overwhelming. But a very common and popular way of doing it is to complete the last stitch of your row. I'm working with double crochets here, but you can do this with any kind of stitch. And rather than completing it like I did here, you're going to stop before your very last yarn over. You'll bring in your new yarn and just pull it through those two loops. That way you've completed your last stitch and brought in your new color seamlessly. The only thing with this is it gets a little loose, the tension does. So what I like to do is just tie those ends of the previous color and the new color just to hold it in place and continue on with the pattern. I never double knot this until I'm absolutely sure that I've done the pattern correctly. And then when I'm sure I have, I either double knot it or I just weave it in. And like I said, you can use this for any stitch that you're working with. Here's a half double crochet. So when I make my final half double crochet, whatever your last yarn over is, stop before you do it. I'm bringing in the new color and pulling through all three loops. Tying those ends together just once to hold it in place, and then continuing on with the next row. Now that's a classic color change, but I want to show you a trick that I learned a while back that I absolutely love. It's the same thing, just one step later. So I've completed my single crochet. I'm going to take my hook and go down the two sidebars of that single, bring in my new color and pull it through. Now at this point you can continue on. Let's say it's a chain 3 and turn to serve as your stitch. Take that loop and just pull it. And then again, you can take your two ends and tie them together before you weave them in, or just weave them in using your favorite method. What I like so much about this is that it really controls the tension. It's not as fiddly. Now, if you're doing it with double crochets, remove your hook from your yarn, going into the two sidebars of that last yarn over you did, bring in your new color and pull through. You can leave that loop there until you've completed your stitch, or you can pull it out right now. I just find that it gets a little fiddly if you do it that soon, but do whatever you like, and then continue on. Let's say it's a half double crochet. Here it is completed. To know how many loops to go through, just look at how many are on your hook before that last yarn over. For a half double crochet, it's 3. Bring in your new color and pull it through. Turn and begin your next row. And yes, you can use this with any method of crochet. Working in rows, rounds, stranded crochet, amigurumi, when you run out of yarn and adding a new ball, anywhere. You'll notice here all the ends are weaved in, and that's because I forgot to show you this really cool trick before I weaved them in. So at the end of the video, you'll see it all messy again. If you don't want to deal with all the ends, there is a way that you can tie them together as you work using what's known as the fisherman's knot, or in crochet world, the magic knot. You just want to make sure that you have done your stitches correctly, because once you get it in there, it's really hard to get it out. Now I do recommend that you practice this on a sample swatch before you commit to it. When you come to the end of your row, you're going to snip your old yarn near the base of the bottom of your stitch. So right around here. And you can do this with any stitch, singles, half doubles, doubles, trebles, whatever. Pull the yarn, then put your hook back in place, or you can use a stitch marker. You just don't want this to pull out. If you've never done the magic knot before, I do recommend that you watch this video all about how to do it. It's the same concept, we're just doing it here on the side. So we have the old yarn, and you're going to bring in the new yarn with the tail pointing in the opposite direction. Okay, old yarn, new yarn. And this really helps me as I'm working on this. I literally say it out loud to myself. Old yarn, new yarn. Because we're joining them together with 2 ties. So first I'm taking the new yarn and tying to the old. Just a regular tie. And now I'm slipping it to the base where I sort of pointed to it earlier. So I tied new yarn to old. Now it's old yarn to new. Same thing. Okay. It is really important to remind yourself like that because otherwise it's easy to accidentally tie both sides to the same yarn. So when you snip it, it will come apart. So now we're going to pull on the active ends of the yarn, not the tail ends, but the active ones. There's the active one there at the base and the active yarn here. Just pull on them until the knots meet. Snip your ends. I have never had this knot come undone. I know some of you will write and say that you have, but I never have, and so I do swear by this knot. The other ones I've tried, yes, they come out depending on the kind of yarn that you're using. I've always had great success with this one, and I know a lot of you have too. So this was a half double crochet stitch. So now I'm going to complete my half double crochet like normal. Look at that, perfect. I've completed the row and started the new one with the right color. Let's make this a double crochet. You can do a chain 3, or I like to do stacked singles. And there's your knot. Like I said, you do need to practice this and just see what works best with your tension. You may find that you have to snip your yarn in a different place, but this has always worked really well for me, and again, with any kind of stitch. Now, if you're not a big fan of magic knots, I do have a video all about how to fall in love with weaving in ends, and I recommend that you watch that next. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, a like is always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.